The more you explain, the weaker you seem. The more you react, the more power you give away. The more you try to prove yourself, the more you show they've rattled you. Listen, in this chaotic world, silence isn't weakness, it's a calculated move. When your words are twisted, when truth becomes a weapon, when your reactions fuel their amusement, it's no longer a conversation, it's a mind game. Shout louder, and you lose. Here's the truth. You don't need to fight back, yell to be heard, or justify to prove you're right. All you need is silence and time. Step back, and let the universe work its justice. Truth has a pull like gravity. It always finds its place. In this video, we'll break down 7 moments where a wise man stays absolutely silent, not out of fear but from strength, to guard his energy, preserve his dignity, and let others face the consequences of their actions. No fists, no fury, just control. Silence isn't the absence of words, it's the presence of mastery. Stick with us to the final chapter, where you'll rethink silence forever. Nothing stings more than being falsely accused. Your instinct is to argue, set the record straight, prove you're not what they claim. But here's the hard truth. Nobody's listening to your defense. The more you explain, the more doubt you invite, the more you seek clarity, the more they sow chaos. Those spreading lies don't want truth, they want your reaction. They want you rattled, unsteady, performing your innocence so they can twist it into guilt. That's the trap. React, and you've already lost. This is where Stoicism draws the line. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it's not true, don't say it. If it's not right, don't do it." That's it. No pleading, no explaining. Live by your integrity, not their version of your story. Truth has what lies never will: endurance. Lies spread fast, but burn out quickly. Truth takes time, but needs no defense. It reveals itself. Let me share a story. A man named James faced false accusations at work for something he didn't do. Gossip spread, and colleagues shunned him. His first urge was to prove his innocence, but he chose silence. Instead, he stayed calm, did his job well, and let his actions speak. Weeks later, the truth came out. The accuser was exposed for long-term deceit. James, by never reacting, kept his dignity intact, rising above the noise with his honor unshaken. That's Stoic strength. So, how do you handle lies about you? First, trust the long game. Lies are loud, but truth lasts. Let time do its quiet work. Second, hold fast to your values. When you know who you are, outside noise can't touch you. Third, let karma handle the rest. Liars live in their own drama and will eventually trap themselves. Finally, silence isn't surrender, it's self-respect. You're not hiding, you're standing above the pettiness and lies. Let them talk, let them spin, and let truth do what it always does: return. Betrayal doesn't just hurt, it shakes the ground beneath you. It comes from those you trust: friends, family, loved ones. Your chest tightens, and your instinct is to confront, demand answers, beg for reasons. But here's the cold reality: betrayers have already justified their actions in their minds. They either don't see their fault, or, worse, don't care. The more you chase closure, the deeper your wounds become. When someone betrays you, what they really want is your energy, your pain, your confusion, your reaction. Why? Because it gives them power, proves they matter. So what happens when you give them nothing? No anger, not revenge, just silence. They lose not just your words, but your essence. Seneca said, "A gem isn't polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Betrayal is friction. It hurts, but it clarifies what's real, what's convenient, and forces you to face a hard truth. Not everyone you love will stay. Let me tell you about Sarah, a woman with a decade-long best friend. They shared everything: dreams, doubts, victories. But one day, Sarah learned her friend had betrayed her, leaking secrets and undermining her success out of jealousy or insecurity. At first, she wanted to confront, to pour out her pain and make her friend feel it. Instead, she chose silence. No fight, no drama, just a quiet exit. Her friend expected an explosion, braced for chaos, but got only absence. That silence haunted her, because silence carries weight, echoing louder than words. When betrayal strikes, here's your path. First, accept who they really are, not the version you hoped for. That person is gone. Second, don't waste words on someone who valued you in pencil. You don't need to make them see what they chose to ignore. Third, walk away without explanation. Silence forces them to reflect, something betrayers dodge. Finally, you're not the one who lost. They lost a loyal, rare soul. Let them live with that, not through punishment, but through your absence and peace. Cheap insults are the weapons of the weak. When someone mocks or attacks you, they're not seeking truth. They're fishing for your reaction, wanting to see you rattled to validate themselves. If you snap back, yell, or defend yourself, you've handed them exactly what they crave: control over you. Here's what most miss: you don't need to win the argument. You just need to refuse the game. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." Read that again. When attacked, they want you to stoop to their level. But a Stoic man doesn't wallow in the mud. He observes, stays calm, and remains unshaken. Consider David, a man who earned a well-deserved promotion. At a company event, a jealous colleague sneered in front of everyone. Guess anyone can get promoted now. All eyes turned to David, waiting for his reaction. But he didn't argue or defend himself. He locked eyes with the critic, smiled, and stayed silent. No retort, no drama. In that moment, David didn't just win, he owned the battlefield. Because silence strips power from the attacker, and nothing frustrates an insulter more than being ignored. So, how do you handle insults? First, see their intent. They don't want truth. They want to break your calm. Don't let them. Second, let your composure speak a steady face, a kid voice that's louder than words. Third, stand firm. Confidence doesn't argue, and self-respect doesn't explain. When you refuse to stoop, they're left with nothing to grip. Finally, you don't need a loud comeback. You need to master your silence. True strength doesn't shout. And the sharpest response to an insult is indifference. Some people don't want resolution. They want attention, control of the narrative. Playing the victim, they twist facts, erase their role, amplify drama, cry, and suddenly, you're the villain. The more you explain, the worse it gets. Because to others, you look like the aggressor attacking a suffering soul. They flip the script. You're the bully. They're the misunderstood saint. This isn't conflict. It's theater. And you've been cast as the enemy. Stoic wisdom spots this trap. Epictetus said, "Complaining is always useless and never fitting." Victim players don't moan for solutions, they want sympathy. Defending yourself only makes their act more convincing. The only way to win is silence. Take Rachel's story. Her colleague always distorted the truth, crying and dodging blame whenever held accountable. Rachel stayed calm, presented evidence, explained the facts. But it backfired. In the court of public opinion, emotion trumps reason when arguments drag on. Finally, Rachel stopped fighting and embraced stoic silence. Over time, the truth surfaced. People noticed the pattern. This colleague always had a sob story, a new enemy, a fresh injustice. The act collapsed. So, how do you deal with a fake victim? First, don't defend yourself. They're not listening, just performing. And the audience loves drama. Don't feed it. Second, keep emotional distance. Observe. Don't get swept into their chaos. Third, trust karma and repetition. They may fool some briefly, but patterns expose them. Finally, you owe no explanation to those who profit from confusion. Let them play their role, chase their audience, follow their script. Soon enough, the curtain falls, and your silence is the final act. The greatest insult isn't their words, it's their indifference when you show up. Give, carry, call, text, and get nothing but silence, apathy, or coldness in return. No explosion, no loud betrayal, just a slow erosion of your value in their eyes. Here's the brutal truth. The harder you try to prove your worth, the less they see it. People don't value what's always there. They only notice what they fear losing. When you're ever present, always reaching out, you become background noise in their world. Not indispensable, but invisible. This is where Stoicism hands you back the reins. Seneca said, "Time reveals the truth." Sometimes, the truth is your absence. Let me share Jake's story, a steadfast man, always checking in, remembering birthdays, asking about your day. But he noticed something nobody asked about his. If he stopped calling, silence stretched into weeks. He realized he wasn't valued, just convenient. Jake made a choice. No arguments, no explanations, just stopped. The result, those who truly cared reached out. Those who didn't vanished. That was his answer. So, when your value is ignored, what do? First, stop chasing them if they don't see your worth when you're there. Let them feel it when you're gone. Second, say nothing. Silence makes them confront what they've lost. Undeniable in your absence. Third, watch who steps up. Those who matter don't need reminders. They'll notice the shift and draw closer, not drift away. Finally, you don't prove your worth by trying harder. You prove it with distance. Those worthy of your energy will feel your silence. Those who aren't never deserved it. Let your absence speak, echoing in the void they once overlooked, without begging to be seen. Some people don't seek peace. They crave your reaction. They provoke, jab, say things they know will cut. Not because they're bold, but because it's their only way to feel powerful. If you flinch, they win. If you argue, they grow stronger. If your emotions flare, they've got you. The truth most miss their goal isn't conflict, it's control. They want to break your resolve to make you dance to their tune. Stoicism is your shield. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Grasp this, and you'll find strength." That's the core of self-mastery. You can't stop their provocations, but you can deny them what they hunger for your reaction. Take Adam's story. He had a colleague who thrived on chaos. Every meeting, every interaction brought a jab, a sly insult, vague enough to dodge blame. At first, Adam fought back. Arged explained, leaving each encounter drained. Then he changed. The next time his colleague provoked, Adam met his gaze, smiled faintly, nodded calmly, and stayed silent. No glare, not tension, just indifference. The result, his colleague was thrown off, used to sparking fires. He didn't know what to do when the match wouldn't light. Eventually, he gave up, without fuel. Even the most toxic flame dies out. So, how do you handle provocation first? Spot the pattern. Repetition reveals intent. If someone constantly stirs conflict, it's not personal, it's strategy. Second, hold your ground. Don't let their bait pull you off course. You control your breath, your voice, your presence. The moment they dismiss you, ignore your worth. Assume you'll always be there. Your departure makes their oversight deafening. They'll recall how you listened, how you showed up, how you gave more than you took, and realize they didn't just lose a person, they lost a presence, a light, a steady anchor. But by then, it's too late. Understand this: if someone only values you when you're gone, they never truly valued you when it mattered. The worst thing you can do is return just because they finally see. Epictetus said, "No one is free who doesn't master themselves." Mastery means this: you don't revisit places that wounded you. Don't lower your standards to ease their guilt. Don't explain your silence. Let it speak. Take Olivia's story. She poured everything into a relationship: time, love, energy. Her partner grew careless, dismissive, taking her presence as permanent. One day, Olivia walked away. No arguments, no shouting, no outburst. She simply left. At first, her partner shrugged it off, but weeks turned to months. Calls went unanswered, and her absence became a void he hadn't realized he needed. He begged, apologized, promised change, but Olivia had quietly healed. Her silence became her freedom. So, when someone regrets losing you, what do? First, don't let them back in easily. If your worth was invisible, your absence must be unmistakable. Second, resist the urge to explain. Let them feel the weight of their actions without the comfort of closure. Third, stay resolute in your silence. Not out of spite, but from self-respect. They had access to you and squandered it. Now let them face that truth. Your silence isn't punishment, it's wisdom. It says you won't let anyone walk in and out of your life expecting the door to stay open. Let them regret. Let them remember. But don't let them return. You don't owe them a second chance, you owe yourself peace. You don't need to shout to be heard. Fight to win. or speak to prove your worth. In a world addicted to noise, silence is bold. It's not weakness or surrender. It's the language of those who no longer need validation. Silence reclaims your power, steps you out of the trap, and lets time, truth, and karma finish the story you don't need to write. A stoic man doesn't chase approval, beg for closure, or crumble under noise. He steps back and lets the universe do what it does best, restore balance. So, the next time someone lies, betrays, insults, provokes, or regrets, don't react. Don't explain. Don't perform. Just observe and wait. Karma doesn't need your help. It just needs your silence. If this message strikes a chord deep within you, if you find truth in these words, don't just pass by. Subscribe to Think Stoic 101, where strength is quiet, wisdom is sharp, and every word carries lasting weight. And if you know someone who needs this message, share it with them. Pass it on, or let your silence echo and inspire.